I am no seer, no prophet, no shaman. So it may be that what I say now could not be further from the truth. But I like to think that I have learned something over the years, that I might predict what may happen even though I may never know the truth. Perhaps I should not think of such things, but as is my wont, I wonder at what will become of those who fled through the portal at Henge Hold. Nothing remains of it now but a monument, a testament to the ingenuity and plight of those who constructed it, those who stepped foot through it, those who died so that others might escape to a better fate than we who stayed to fight the infernals. I may have survived the wilds of Imoran for many years, its beasts and its perils, but I am no warrior, and yet I had little choice but to fight as well. Thus, I must admit that a part of me envies they who left for another world, wherever it and they may be now. When they arrived in their new home but a few years ago, they were united in one purpose and one goal: to survive. There would be a powerful consensus in what they must do to persist in the world that they now reside upon, for even the most foolish among them must realize that to do otherwise is to imperil all. They must learn the natural order of where they are, even if it is the world of Cyrus, their clockwork goddess, as I've been told. For a person is very different when before their neighbour from when before their god. I find myself being a little cynical when I think of what those survivors will become in the years and centuries ahead. At their very core, I do not think that they will change, for they are human. Their fractiousness, their inability to understand that which is not human, their willfulness when it comes to their beliefs, these things will not change. However, neither will their willingness to innovate change, their self-belief no matter the circumstances, nor their individuality. So instead, I will try to be pragmatic, realistic, and perhaps a little optimistic in what will become of the new Imaries, shall we say, for we have Cyrusists here that remained, and I do not wish to confuse matters, or myself. I can only assume that humanity will not be the first race to inhabit the world beyond the portal, for where there was a gateway on Imoran, there must have been one also at the other end. But no matter. After a time, when they have established themselves in their new home, discovered what needs to be discovered, identified the common and rare resources, division will become clearer and clearer as the obstinacy of human charisma comes to the fore. If conquest is a necessity, then let it be brief, for as refugees, the new Imaries will have suffered much to secure a future for themselves, and let few die for such a purpose, since not a great many made the crossing in the grand scale of matters. Generations from now, they will split into factions, and when their ancestry is forgotten by the majority and the powerful, they may come to violence and war as one tries to dominate the others, however many there may be. It is possible that what they become millennia from now will be of amusement to Imoran scholars of today, as they recognize the dynamic of these factions, if not their appearance. For just as the humans of Imoran expanded outward from ancient Ixthia and Urus, so too will the new Imaries expand from their first cities. Order, independence, faith. These will be the things that impose a choice upon them. Which do they value the most and why? And which are they willing to compromise and why? For the safety and security of the people that explore the world they find themselves in, some will advocate for strong leadership and a strict hierarchy, so that any external threat can be dealt with as a unified people. They will have been the ones to advocate for conquest against the existing inhabitants found there, and while they will act for the benefit of all mankind, their unwillingness to lower their guard or change their militant policies will no doubt incite accusations of paranoia and authoritarianism. To them, division is simply a sign of weakness to other races, something that humanity cannot afford, and if their fellow humans cannot see this, then they will be compelled to understand the strength to be found in unity. Should mankind struggle, this faction will create an unshakable alliance that will look to bring all humanity under its influence, so that they can defend themselves from aggressors, and perhaps become an empire to contend with, and even be able to subdue any ancient powers that may exist. Unwilling to follow this path that would take away from their individuality and enterprise are those who wish to explore unfettered and unlimited. Frontiersmen, one could call them. They will act independently of each other, but recognize the kindred spirits of fellow pioneers, allying when their peers are threatened. Their seeming isolationism will see them disdained for lawlessness and being culturally backward. But their sense of endeavour and survival will be unparalleled, for they will be the ones who find new resources and found new cities. As the presence of these people expands in our hypothetical new Emoran, they know that their existence will always be fragile, and so they will quickly build bonds between groups of colonists among the marches at the fringe. They will never be a great power as we might define it, but when amongst allies, they will never be conquered, though they will not see conquest as their purpose. And disdained by both will be those who cling to a belief, whether it be of the gods they left behind on Caen, or something new that they discover. As humanity expands and settles new territories, they may find the remnants of past civilizations whose technology or philosophy they hold in high esteem, superior to that of their fellow humans. With mankind having started with nothing in this place and needing anything they can find to survive, the means to empower the individual is of great value to this group. And though the others will disapprove of their means, there is little they can do to stop it. These zealots, if generalities may be adopted, will be quick to make themselves scarce, seek followers among the disaffected, and see secrecy as a norm to ensure their continuation into future generations. Matters will be conducted with great care so as not to attract the attentions of the other factions. Personal resourcefulness and skill, whether it be magical, strength of arms, or strategic ability, will no doubt be of greater value when the time comes that they wish to spread their ethos among humanity's nations. As to their technology, if they are anything like the Khaedorans, Menites and Signorans, these factions will gladly steal or copy from each other, for what one has the others must also, so as not to be subsumed. In a new world that may be to ours like the sands of the Bloodstone Desert is to the boughs of the Thornwood Forest, resources, their plenty or their absence, will dictate what they may or must develop. It may be that the technology that will become commonplace to them in the future is nothing like what we have in Amoran. But then, these will be the descendants of Imaries, and no few mechanics and arcanists took the step through the gate. Perhaps the concept of the Warjack will survive by a different name, and perhaps it will evolve into something that I might recognize, even if quite different from what we know and understand here and now. Or perhaps what they will have would not seem strange to my Laosan ancestors. Perhaps. No doubt they will have magic to call their own also, but like their old home on Caen, it may come in many forms. What I can say is that it will be quite different in source from what we know, for where they have gone, our gods will not be, so they must learn how to harness the power that they find access to. The ambient energy of their surroundings would seem the easiest to leverage to whatever they deem it appropriate, much like what powers Iosan Myrmidons. But there will no doubt be other sources that they must master if they are to endure. But humanity is a capricious race, for what they see before them is often all they care for, that it is something for them to use and to make their own. It is how they came to be the prominent race in Western Amoran, this much even I must admit. But just as the humans of Amoran are the reason for the coming of the Infernals, even if it may not have been their conscious fault, it is likely that the actions of mankind in their new Amoran will attract the attention of others who may not be so amenable to their presence. In what form this threat may be, I do not know and cannot say, but it will surely be as alien to them as the Infernals are to us, no matter if they would have been encountered before. And if they are of like power, these beings, whether or not they are the true custodians of where humanity make their new home, may not be of a mind to ask questions, for they must have other problems to consider across the vastness of their influence. It is possible that they are a stagnant empire that has become complacent in its rule. But no matter what, when conflict happens, or rather when conflict escalates, humanity will need to be prepared to wage war in an entirely different way, for this threat was likely already there, watching, learning, and undermining. The new Imaries do not know it, for the portal behind them was destroyed, and so their descendants will not know it. But we know that humanity, and their allies with them, expended all their effort and tested the limits of their fortitude to breaking point, and survived. Where the refugees from Caen have gone and what they will face, I hope they will have better fortune than us. Though it is not my place to do so, I counselled those distant people. Have a care, children of those I once called neighbour. Be sure of the ground upon which you stand when you declare your defiance.